Conversation right now, someone who's been following this story all weekend, of course, legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff. She joins me. Meghann, good to see you. You know, you and I have talked so much about the Diddy saga, and I think I ask you every time, you know, what other famous people could possibly be swept up in it? And now we have a name, Jay-Z, over the weekend. Did you see this coming?
I think we were all waiting for some other celebrity names to be dropped in the civil cases. I think the criminal case is a different matter, whether we'll see other celebrities charged in there. But if we were to believe Tony Buzbee, we all should have seen something like this coming, because he said that other powerful people would be named and exposed when he made his announcement that he was going to be filing a lot of lawsuits. So I think this has just been a matter of time. There also was an indication that something was up in the last couple of weeks when the lawsuit was filed against Tony Buzbee in Los Angeles alleging extortion. It did not name Jay-Z, but it said on behalf of an anonymous celebrity. It was filed by Quinn Emanuel, which is a law firm that does a lot of work with Jay-Z.
All right. So to your point, I mean, this has been somewhat in the works for some time now, being made public here. I want to put up your tweet today with a screen grab there of a page of the suit. You're saying there it names Jay-Z as a defendant, and it accuses both Jay-Z and Diddy of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000. It was filed by attorney Tony Buzbee, and Jay-Z has accused Buzbee of extortion. Now, what grounds are Jay-Z's attorneys claiming the judge should throw out the lawsuit here? Do they have a case?
They have a much better case to get an order saying that the plaintiff needs to identify herself. And they've also requested in this motion that they either want her to identify herself or for the allegations to be dismissed. I think the case law favors her identifying herself through an amended complaint or something like that. We've seen that same litigation in other lawsuits that have been filed against Diddy. So this is the same type of motion, actually, that Buzbee has filed in other cases seeking to proceed anonymously. And the judge in this case actually did already allow it back in November. When the initial lawsuit was filed in October, Buzbee filed a request to allow the plaintiff to proceed anonymously. The judge allowed it, but did say it was subject to revisiting. And Buzbee filed another motion when he filed his new complaint identifying Jay-Z. But this will be the first time that there's been significant opposition to the anonymity. Beforehand, Diddy does not have lawyers actively working these cases right now. So it was just Buzbee asking the judge and the judge going along with it.
I mean, that was my next point and question I was going to ask. You know, it didn't seem like there was much of an effort mounted on Diddy's behalf via his team against some of the lawsuits, the many lawsuits brought by Buzbee. And now you see that flipped on its head. I mean, with Jay-Z's response to this, essentially claiming Buzbee is extorting him, calling him a lawyer, quote unquote, in quotation, saying he's a terrible person. How's Buzbee going to weather this?
You know, I think he's prepared for quite a battle. He seems to be responding online in kind and digging in and saying this only emboldens his clients. So I think at some point, everyone is going to just have to take a step back and focus on the actual allegations and the fact that there's somebody who says that she was attacked when she was 13. And I think that's what Jay-Z's team is trying to do by getting her identity. They're, of course, making the case that they need to prepare a defense here by knowing who it is, getting other possible witnesses. So I think eventually the tit for tat between these two is going to have to turn to the actual allegations and whether they can be proven or disproven.
Yeah, Buzbee with this lengthy post on X over the weekend saying this, that regarding the Jay-Z case and his efforts to silence my clients, he says, Carter previously denied being the one who sued me and my firm. He filed his frivolous case under a pseudonym there. And he says that when an alleged perpetrator behaves in this manner, wildly asserting that a basic demand letter is extortion, and aggressively using the media to attack the opposing lawyer while at the same time ignoring the allegations being made by the alleged victim, he says it reminds me of a famous line from Shakespeare. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. He says, we intend to address all these issues with the court in due course. Let me be clear, he says, we will not be bullied or intimidated by these shenanigans, and our clients won't be silenced. So a very, very strong statement there, of course, with the Shakespeare line from Much Ado About Nothing. You know, I want to talk about reputational harm. We know what has transpired with Diddy and what he has suffered on the reputational front here. Will it be the same case for Jay-Z, rather?
I think that definitely remains to be seen, because right now this is one lawsuit, and I feel like his team is really hoping that they're going to weather the storm here, and they've made some good offensive defensive moves, such as filing this extortion lawsuit. And right now the narrative around this isn't just that Jay-Z is being sued for sexual assault, but also that Jay-Z is accusing the lawyer of extortion. So I think they've already managed to get a good grasp on it. It just really is going to remain to be seen about what happens with the actual allegations. The public can think that Tony Buzbee is a bad guy all they want. It's just going to matter, are his allegations valid or not?
Meghann, do you anticipate Buzbee to take up Jay-Z on Jay-Z's dare, essentially saying, you know, if this rises to the level of how you describe it, file criminal charges against me, bring it out of the civil sphere? Will he do that?
I mean, we don't. Buzbee is not a district attorney with charging powers in New York City or New Jersey, so he couldn't do it himself. So we don't actually know if there's been a police report filed. Perhaps there has, perhaps there hasn't. I think there are statute of limitations issues to look at. I think New Jersey does not have a statute of limitations for child sex abuse, but those would all be issues to be considered. But like the reporter said in the previous segment, there's such a different standard for criminal versus civil cases that could also be something that comes into play.
Yeah. And of course, in Jay-Z's lengthy statement put out by Roc Nation, his record label and brand, he's deeply concerned about how this will really not impact his reputation, but, you know, his family. How is he going to explain this to his very young children here? His attorneys, though, high-powered, I mean, they're bulldogs. Alex Spiro represented Alec Baldwin. Spiro has represented Elon Musk in the past. He knows what he's doing, right?
Yes, he seems to definitely have a good track record. We saw him in court in the Alec Baldwin case, and he seems to take on matters with a lot of substance, and he knows how to bring out the right issues and litigate the right issues. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of that here. It will be interesting to see him, you know, go up against Tony Buzbee in court if we get there. But then, I mean, it's also interesting to think about Diddy's role in this. And as a co-defendant charged with a criminal case, he has every reason to not want to participate in this civil lawsuit. He would not be sitting for a deposition or allowing any kind of discovery around him as long as he has these criminal charges pending. So it will be interesting to see how, when that eventually comes to play, how it affects the lawsuit moving forward, if there's some kind of stay in place, or if Jay-Z is able to get his day in court if this case is not dismissed. Yeah,
and of course, you know, not to mention Buzbee's no spring chicken here. I mean, he took on Deshaun Watson there in the Houston area, and, you know, he has vowed to, you know, fight on behalf of his client, this plaintiff here, who, to your point, remains anonymous. Say she no longer remains anonymous due to various filings and successes that Jay-Z's legal team gets here. That extortion claim by Jay-Z's team, will that have even more heft, so to speak, or not?
You know, that I think that remains to be seen. It seems like the kind of lawsuit that could be not decided until we see some more resolution here, because you know, I think there's a lot of moving parts here. But I think a lot of the intent of that lawsuit was to try to stave off any kind of public filing of Jay-Z's name, which of course happened on Sunday night. So,
I mean, Buzbee, though, did allege in that statement we just read that his client isn't seeking some type of monetary settlement. They just want a confidential mediation here. I mean, those are the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did say that the client did not request money, but I think the response to that would be that that's really the only solution here in a civil case, outside of, an injunction or something like that that would not apply in this case. Monetary damages are what we would get here. And a confidential mediation is, of course, what you do when you're ultimately hoping to get some kind of settlement. So I think they would just, they're obviously standing by their characterization of this as a shakedown. Jay-Z's team is.
Yeah, and on Buzbee's part, it seems like that's a distinction without a difference. Meghann Cuniff, thanks so much for joining us here, and we'll be in touch if there are any more updates. Talk soon, Meghann.
Great, thanks for having me.
All right, in the meantime here, I just want to put up this. This is on X, very lengthy statement from Rock Nation. This is Jay-Z's side of it. He says, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a quote-unquote lawyer named Tony Buzbee. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. He says, no, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. He says these allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? He says these alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. He says this lawyer, who I've done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics here. So wanted to just read in part the response from Jay-Z. It's a story we'll stay on top of here. All right, I'm Andrew Kraft. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going out to Capitol Hill. Some of these Trump cabinet nominees appearing, meeting with senators, trying to shore up support for their confirmation battles. We'll have that and more in 2 minutes.